I'm here today with Brian Schwartz, author of 50 Interviews, Entrepreneurs, Thriving in Uncertain Times. Hi Brian, thanks for this time for the interview.
Hi Jen.
I have a few questions for you. First off, readers, I wanted you to know that I played a part in his book. Page 141 is my story, my contribution. Brian has an interesting story with how he got started with putting this book together. Brian, can you tell me what your motivation was behind launching 50 Interviews?
Sure. It was actually a challenge from my wife. I told her I wanted to quit my job, and she told me that before she would give me her blessing to do so, that she wanted me to go interview 50 entrepreneurs. She wanted me to know what I was getting myself into. It didn't originally start as and intended to be a book, but after several interviews, people kept telling me, Brian, what do you plan on doing with these interviews? You're asking some great questions. Have you ever considered writing a book? And I said, well, no. They said, you should. And it came up again and again. So I realized the universe was telling me this was something that needed to get out there. And sure enough, I got more structure into what I was doing, and I started the book, and that's how it came to be. In fact, my wife, after the fact, told me she never expected me to actually complete all 50 interviews, which would allow her to keep her word regarding me not quitting my job, regarding her not giving me her blessing. So she admits now that that was sort of the ploy, but obviously it's gone further, and now she's proud of where it's come.
Gotcha. And upon publishing 50 Interviews, you quit your own job to become an entrepreneur, correct?
I did, not long after I'd finished the 50 interviews. It was one of the gentlemen I had interviewed in the book told me, Brian, what is it going to be? What's going to take for you to finally make that leap of faith? He said, is it the 50 interview? Is it after the completion of the 50th interviews? He said, at that point the excuses are sort of gone, aren't they? And I said, you know what, you're right. And it was after that 50th interview that the knocking on the back of my head got louder and louder, that the excuses were gone. I knew everything I needed to know, and it was time to take the plunge full into it completely. In fact, the entrepreneurs shared so much with me and offered to help me further along, but they had only taken me as far as they could. I had to take that next step in order for them to help me further and know what questions I was going to ask next.
Great. So from everything that you learned from the entrepreneurs that you interviewed, what would you say was the most surprising finding for you?
This idea of an impersonal goal was something that was really a surprise to me. So really there's two key distinctions that all these successful entrepreneurs share. One is a consuming passion for whatever it is they're doing. And I mean, it's an addiction. It's like if I offered you $1 million tomorrow to quit, you'd probably turn it down, because what you're doing is so important to you that it's fulfilling, right? It's something very important. But two, an impersonal goal is something that means you found a purpose greater than yourself. And when you identify a purpose greater than yourself, that's really what fuels an entrepreneur to get through all the adversity and the challenges that lie ahead. And not everybody discovers that, and I think that if there was an alternate title to the book, it would be It's Not About the Money. And that to me was a surprise. I think that as an employee working for these entrepreneurs, I thought it was about the money. They're the ones taking home the lion's share, you figure, of the business, but it really isn't about the money. It's about the impact that they're having on the world, on their clients. I think the two fields that typify an impersonal goal better than any others are teachers and pastors, because clearly what they're doing is not about themselves, it's about a purpose greater than themselves.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's certainly the case for me. I do this just because it feeds my soul. What do you think that successful entrepreneurs, are they born or are they made?
I didn't possess the beliefs of an entrepreneur. I was not born into an entrepreneur family. So if you're born into an entrepreneur family, yeah, then entrepreneurs are born, but most of us aren't. So how do you become an entrepreneur if you're not born into it? And it has, I realized the epiphany I had a few months after I'd finally left my job and become a full-time entrepreneur was that we're not really in charge of our moment-to-moment decisions. If we are, we'd all be millionaires, we all have perfect bodies, we'd have a utopian life. Where do our decisions come from? Well, they come from our beliefs. And don't beat yourself up if you're making decisions that aren't putting you where you want to be in life. It's really not your fault. It's that you have these beliefs that are like limiting beliefs. You've heard that term before, but if there's nothing wrong with the prior beliefs that you're born into, and most of us have our beliefs that occur in the first 5 to 7 years of life. But if you're making decisions that aren't putting you where you want to be in life, just ask, are those beliefs still serving you today? And I think that what's happening in the world today is a lot of people are waking up to the fact that, hey, the beliefs that I've had for all these years are no longer serving me. So are you open to new beliefs? And the thing I leave people with is, if you're not, then surround yourself with people who are.